Hello, are you ready to learn how to balance a checking or credit account using 3D Budget's simple account ledgers? 3D Budget is a multidimensional personal finance tool that integrates checking accounts and credit accounts with your spending budget. It has simple, easy-to-use screens for tracking activity in your accounts and for managing your budget. This video will walk you through the account balancing process. There is nothing new about the process for balancing a checking or credit account. It is exactly the same as the process people have used for years to balance a checkbook. It is generally done once a month when you receive your statement from the bank, and the objective is to align your records with the bank's records. Here you can see a sample 3D Budget checking account ledger. It should look very similar to your checkbook ledger. The transactions that you see here have either been manually entered into 3D Budget using the simple transaction posting functionality or imported from an online checking account. When you balance your checking account ledger against your statement, you want to compare the transactions in each and compare the ending balances. 3D Budget is set up to make this process very easy. The checkbox shown here in the 7th column is the verification indicator. This is used to keep track of which transactions have been matched with a statement. The transactions that are already checked were matched with last month's statement. Our task now is to check off the transactions from this month's statement. Let's try it. The first items on our statement are checks number 343, 345, and 346. We check them off by selecting the verification indicator for each. Note that this can be done very quickly by pressing the space bar to select an item and the up-down keys to move from one item to the next. The next items that show up on our statement are the income receipts for February 7th and February 21st. We check these off in the same manner. The rest of the items on the statement are debit card, ATM, or direct withdrawal expenses. $75, $120, $123.30, $16.32, $60, $230.34, $687.55, $75.32, and $47.89. Finally, there is one more transaction on the statement for $76.78. This is the lunches transaction, which we need to correct on our ledger. First, we can save the verifications we have done. Then we can change the lunches entry by double-clicking on it and changing the amount to $76.78. We can also select the verification indicator directly on this change screen. Now, when we return to the ledger, we can refresh the screen to see this corrected transaction. Now we have matched all transactions on the statement, and we can review the next three fields. The actual balance shows the account balance based on everything that has been entered into 3D Budget. This balance does not change when we verify transactions, but you may have noticed that it did change when we corrected the $75 transaction. Our balance is now $6,733.10. The statement balance shows the balance that should be on the bank statement. This is what we compare with the bank statement to make sure we are aligned. The value next to the last verified entry, $6,133.54, should match the statement exactly. Note that this value perfectly matches the actual balance up until the unverified Photolab transaction. These two values will always match for verified transactions, but this field is very helpful when there are multiple unverified transactions preceding verified transactions. The final field is the far right column with asterisks. This tells you whether or not all previous transactions have been verified. The asterisk next to this corner grocery transaction means that all prior transactions have been matched. There is no asterisk next to the A1 gas transaction because the Photolab transaction before it has not been matched. This asterisk helps you keep track of whether there are any old items that have been unmatched for several months. At this point, the balancing of this checking account is complete because the statement balance in 3D Budget matches the statement balance from the bank. If they still did not match, then you would need to either find and enter the missing transactions or enter adjustment amounts for the difference. It is not critical that you enter every single transaction in 3D Budget, but it is critical that the balance in 3D Budget matches the bank's balance. Otherwise, your budget reconciliation will be invalid. Now let's take a quick look at the same process for the credit card account. The balancing for a credit card is almost identical to that for a checking account. The only difference is the payments not received column. This column shows the amount you owe to the credit card company that has not been received yet by the company. In this example, you can first see that everything up through the $90 restaurant charge was matched on the previous statement. The amount due from the previous statement was $687.55, and you can see that we sent a payment for that amount on February 21st. Now we have received a new statement. The first items on the statement are payments and credits into the account, $687.55 and $31.45. The rest of the items are expenses, $237.32, $24.35, $14.52, $48.90, and $46.89. Note that the $22.70 expense has not yet appeared on the statement. Now, the value in the payments not received column, $340.53, should match the balance on your credit card statement. If it does, you are done. Save the verification changes and pay your bill. If it doesn't, then you should either find and enter the missing transactions or enter adjustment amounts for the difference. Just like in the checking balancing, it is not critical that every transaction is entered in 3D Budget, but it is critical that the balance in 3D Budget matches the card statement balance. That's the process for balancing checking and credit accounts. Balancing accounts is a good practice that everybody should do whether they use 3D Budget or not. 3D Budget makes the process easy and also integrates account balancing with budget management, so you only have to enter the transactions in one place. Are you ready to take control of your finances? If you haven't already done so, go to www.3dbudget.com to download 3D Budget for a free 30-day trial.